And welcome back to the OHIO podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs, and as you can see, we are joined by our special guest, Brandon Dublich from the LEO podcast. Brandon, it has been representing that podcast shirt there. There you go. It has been 7 weeks, I think, maybe 8, since we last podcasted together and
Yeah.
previewed the season for Indiana, and here we are. It is week 1, game 1. It's finally here. Indiana, Ohio State, man. Seems like it just flew by. I don't know about you, but that fall camp just absolutely just flew by this
Warp
year.
speed, brother. Warp speed. I'll tell you, like
Some
August barely existed, right? Especially like I'm a huge NFL guy too. So like the hype around my Pittsburgh Steelers is starting to ramp up. And it's hope season, right? Everyone's undefeated. Everyone,
yeah.
including Indiana, is undefeated. So no, it's fun, it's exciting. Week 0 was kind of crazy. Did you
It
watch any
was.
week 0?
I did. I watched that entire Notre Dame game. I was assigned to do a post game story for Saturday Blitz for
Yeah.
the Notre Dame game, so I watched it very intently and lost some money on it. Not gonna lie, I thought for sure Navy would have this thing in a phone booth and keep it under 20, and boy, that just went out the door in 4 quick possessions. That
They
thing
they
was
got a
over.
stable of running backs. I mean, I know Ohio State's got a stable of running backs, but yeah, Notre Dame looked great. Does
They
that make you any more
Oh
nervous?
yeah, oh yeah. That offense is completely different than what
Yep.
we faced last year, and I think it has everything to do with their quarterback. I
Yeah.
really do. I think he's 24 years old, and he was breaking records left and right in that game because, this is what he's been doing now for 4 straight seasons. So, yeah, that game's going to be interesting. There's no doubt about it. That's one of 3 trips we have to Indiana, the state of Indiana. The first coming to Bloomington, your neck of the woods, my man.
Here we go.
Yeah, so let's start here, man. Let me ask
Yep.
you this question: How has fall camp gone for the Hoosiers this year?
Oh man. So at work and for fun, people call me Captain Cliche. So I'm gonna hit you with one early here.
Yeah,
The best ability is availability, and IU got out of camp unscathed, right? Isn't that just a big storyline every time? So that was very notable. Probably the biggest thing though, then I think that plays into Ohio State. Why does Ohio State hold their 27-year streak against Indiana? It's a lot of the reasons it's because it's very competitive in the first, sometimes in the second, occasionally in the third, but in the fourth, it's a blowout. And that's all about depth. All about depth. Indiana has 23 new transfers and 32 total new players into their program this year. And it's probably the deepest team I've ever seen IU.
really, really.
It doesn't have maybe the star power, but just the depth that the transfers were able to solidify. The 2 deep is very, very solid. Now, does that mean? I mean, I'm sure we'll get into predictions later, but does that mean I think IU can compete with teams for 4 quarters? No, I'm saying they're in the best position to, which is very, very exciting. There was competition up and down the lineup for Indiana. And usually the starters are pretty clear cut, right? Especially at IU. There's a varsity and a junior varsity. This year there was a lot more competition.
So is that really the buzz around the program right now? Is the depth and the influx of all this talent that was brought in through the transfer portal? I mean, that's usually the transfer portal kind of scares me because you can either hit a home run
Oh
or you
yeah.
can swing and miss.
Right, right. So we talked about this when we talked about 2 months ago.
Hmm.
Michigan State's been on both sides of it, right?
Correct. Hmm.
Indiana hasn't been on any side of it. I mean, we've largely been a development program. We obviously wanted to go one way rather than the other. But that's why, to steal what Michael says, nobody knows about this IU team. Literally, nobody knows how good they could be or how bad they could be. And that's brought excitement into the Indiana fan base, more than some previous years, because previous years we knew what was coming back, right? One funny thing, and I want to kind of want to get your input on this,
Hmm.
because you definitely know this very, very well. Did you watch any of the other fall camps through the Big Ten Network?
Yeah, I saw. I caught a few of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was intrigued big time with Northwestern. I
Yeah.
just
I
that
didn't catch that
whole
one.
that whole scenario
Wild.
intrigues the heck out of me.
Wild.
Um, I caught the Iowa one, and Nebraska. I think with Nebraska might have been the first one they did. I didn't catch Indiana's, but I caught about half of them. I would say maybe around 9 or 10.
So yeah, so the funny thing about the IU fall camp thing, and like I said, I wanted to ask you because you know a lot about this, is they really, really hit on returning production, returning production, returning production. IU has the least returning production on offense and on defense. How is that? And they kept harping that it was a bad thing. Where Michael and I have beaten the drum. Why would you want returning production from a 2-10 and a 4-8 season?
Right?
Right? Like, wow, that's just doing the same thing, expecting different results. That's insane.
Right.
So IU, I think I even said on this podcast, is going to have close to a dozen, if not more than a dozen new starters. So that's really, really exciting. It could blow up in IU's face. And what happened? We go 2-10 again. Guess what? We've been there. That's
Hmm.
by far the most exciting thing. And I think Tom Allen knew it, right? That he has to do something different. Because I don't think he's on the hot seat, he's on the warm seat. So those are probably the two most intriguing storylines is no one's hurt. The depth of the team looks better than ever, and the amount of new faces that are going to be playing significant minutes. So anyone who claims to know what IU is going to be, I'm telling you, you have no clue. You have
Hmm.
no clue what to expect out of IU. It could be disastrous. It could be amazing. It's likely going to be somewhere in the middle.
Is there going to be any schematic changes, in your opinion, do you think, given some of the turnover in coaching as well?
Oh, totally. So yeah, we blessing and a curse, I think. We're on our third different defensive coordinator in 3 years. The one 3 years ago was amazing. That's the one that got a head coaching job. I'm blanking on his name, but he's the head coach of South Alabama right now. And then last year was kind of an absolute, or 2 years ago, absolute disaster. Last year, absolute disaster. So we're actually on our fourth. Sorry, I apologize. Called David Guerreri out of Duke. I think he actually spent some time at Ohio State as well. Does that name ring a bell to
It
you?
doesn't. It doesn't to me, but that doesn't mean he wasn't like
Yeah,
a grad assistant, that kind of moved
yeah,
up the ranks.
yeah. So he's most recently at Duke, and he is aggressive, which you
Hmm.
have to be at IU, right?
And Duke had a really good year and wasn't expected to, and they had a really good year last year.
Yeah, so he's coming as a secondary coach. That's where he was at Duke, and now he's going to be the co-defensive coordinator, sharing it with Chad Wilt, who was our D coordinator last year. So he got kind of a demotion, but it'll be David Guerreri making the calls. And like I said, he's very aggressive. Our IU secondary was the worst part of the defense. So schematically, the secondary will be different, and the type of play calling on the defensive side will be different.
So, do you anticipate then a lot of like exotic blitz looks? I mean, Ohio State's going to be starting a new quarterback. We still don't know who he is. About like your kicker, apparently. Don't really know who it's going to be. But I'm here to tell you, it's going to be both quarterbacks. They're
Yep.
both going to play. Ryan Day doesn't have a handle on which one is really the one he's going to go with, so he's going to play them both. Which, I mean, that could be scary. I mean, especially if you're in a dogfight late in the
Right.
game, you're going to get the
Yeah.
ball to then. Now
Right.
you've got to decide, So,
Totally.
yeah, so that could be very interesting. So, do you anticipate kind of the 20? I guess that would have been 2020 exotic
Correct.
defense look type of
Exactly.
thing?
Yeah. No, I expect a lot of corner blitzes. I expect a lot of safety blitzes. I expect a lot of stunting to going on. Just a lot of movement. The word I've used for both offense and defense this year, I think IU has to be team chaos, right? They just have to be a chaos team. That's where IU was successful in 2020. I think Tom Allen realizes that. So yeah, I would be expecting the kitchen sink to be thrown at Ohio State on Saturday.
The line is set at 30 right now. Last
Yeah.
last I saw that.
Uh-huh.
Your feelings on that?
So do we want to get to that? We want to get to that. I'm sticking pretty close to what I said it was going to be when we spoke. But don't be surprised if IU jumps out to maybe 3-0, and maybe it's 7-6 after the first quarter, or maybe even 14-6, 14-10 at halftime. But I do think Ohio State will set in. My official prediction is 42-17, which for my crude math skills is 25 points, which is a cover. So that's the way I think it's going to go down. I do think just because it's week one, there's going to be some breakdowns,
Hmm.
right? On both sides, right? Like I'm expecting some fireworks on both sides, just because I love the playmakers in this game, right?
Yeah.
The two main ones are going to be Jalen Lucas, All American, and Marvin Harrison Jr., All American, right? I expect both of them to be putting on some highlights as there's some scheme and defensive breakdowns, as there always is in the first month of football. But 30-point line, I think you can crumble up well, you can do this in any sport. But I think especially in college football, you don't know anything, especially about this IU team, but also about Ohio State, right? They don't know their quarterback.
Mm-mm.
So I'm going to say something embarrassing, which is going to give me absolutely no credentials at all. But I do a football gambling show every Saturday through NFL memes, and I went 2-5. Right? I like to think I know a lot about college football. I like to think I know a lot about gambling. I didn't do very well this past weekend because I think lines are almost impossible. I mean, at least in pro sports, you have more access to the media. You know the players. There's so much unknown. So, a really long answer to your question, man, week 0, week 1, even week 2 and 3 lines, you can kind of throw right out the window. It's a
Yeah,
crapshoot.
I agree with that. I would not be surprised if this game is much more lower scoring than people realize. I think the strength of Ohio State is actually on the defensive side this year, which is
Yeah.
really weird for us to say, especially given all of the, wide receiver talent that we have.
Hmm.
But when you're breaking in two new tackles, a new signal caller with a new center, there's a lot going on there offensively that's
Yeah.
going to make life a little bit harder to get the football into those All-American hands. I think Ohio State is going to try to establish the line of scrimmage and run the football, actually.
Yeah.
Um, I mean
Interesting.
that makes sense to me given what I'm talking about, what I would
Yeah.
foresee. The question is will Ryan Day be able to do that?
Right.
Um, he let the cat out of the bag. He's still calling plays. He did not give that over to Brian Hartline. He's still going to be the play caller, and we know how he loves to throw the football. So, the worst thing that could happen is he picks a quarterback who comes out and throws a pick six to start the game.
Yeah.
That would be
I
the worst
IU's going
thing
to
that
be
would
jumping
happen.
lines. I'm telling you, they're going to be jumping passing lanes. So I got a question. Then considering that you think this is going to be low scoring, clearly I picked 55 points. Do you know what the over under is on the top of your head? If not, I can look it up here in about
I do
2.
not know. I didn't look that up. I just
Yeah.
saw the 30, or the 30 was the.
Yeah, let's see what the over under is. I got it right here. It is 59. So, would you take over or under 59? Clearly my 55, I chose under. I think that's even a high. I thought the line would be 54, 55.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
I
high
think
line for
I
me.
think I would probably go under and be safe with that.
Yeah.
I'll be floored if Ohio State comes out and they're not missing a beat offensively.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked by that. I mean, you go back and you think about 2 years ago when they broke in Stroud, okay, who was a first round draft pick. That first game at Minnesota on the road feels eerily similar here. And he did not start off too hot. They kind of squeaked by at the end of the day. I think they scored 30 some points. But that defense was nowhere near as good as what Ohio State's is now. I just feel like this thing could be in the low 30 for Ohio State. So somewhere around
Yeah.
31,
Oh wow. So you think
34.
you think I'm pretty? You think I'm more than a touchdown off? So how many? I don't know if you want to spoil your prediction or not.
Not yet.
Um,
I got to wait till the end of the week.
yeah, right. So okay. So you think I gave you too much credit
I think you
for your
did.
offense?
I think you gave this offense too much credit in the fourth quarter.
Okay, that may be. Yeah.
I mean, there is a depth thing. Absolutely, we're going to throw a lot of depth at you, but it's a lot of unproven depth. It's a lot of freshmen. It's a lot of redshirt freshmen. We don't have a ton of depth on the offensive line. If there's an injury on the offensive line in game one, that would be like nightmare scenario for us.
Yeah.
So there, where we have the depth is at running back and at wide receiver. I mean, we're
Mhm.
loaded all over with the specialties. It's just,
Yeah.
how
And
are you going to get the football
Ohio
to them?
State tight end always tears up IU. It's every
Oh,
year there's a tight end from you guys.
yeah. So if that's the case, let me throw some names at you that Indiana fans, who I'm sure some are watching this,
Sure.
need to be aware of. Cade Stover came back. He was an NFL talent at tight end. He came back.
He scored one or two last year against IU.
He
One
is
for
called
sure.
his nickname is Farmer Gronk. He comes from a farm here in
I
Ohio.
love that.
He's a big farm boy. When asked about NIL, what he spends his NIL dollars on, he says, "I would rather just be paid in tractors." That's
Oh,
that's the
that's
kind of kid
great.
this he is.
Oh, that's fantastic.
A year ago he was being questioned by the media about his work ethic, and his question back to them was, "Cows don't take days off. Why should we?" I mean, it
You
was
gotta love
awesome.
that. You gotta
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
That's what you want in a tight end, right?
We got G. Scott Jr., who's a converted wide receiver. He was a top 100 receiver, didn't really hit. He's in his fourth year. He converted over to tight end. He's an extremely athletic, long tight end. When he's in the game, I think he's number 88. When he's in the game, look for them to use him in the seams as a tight end. Um, Joe Royer's in his third year. He's the white man afro. He's got a ginormous white man afro. He has rebuilt his body. Went through some hard times. Mother passed away. Really set him back a year. He again another good hands receiving type tight end, has to learn how to block. So he's rebuilt his body, become more physical. And then the buzz around freshman Jelani Thurman from Georgia was
Oh,
a
interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard him.
high 4-star tight end out of Georgia. The Bulldogs wanted him. We snuck in, got him to come up to Columbus. He's the real deal. He is a big, tall, physical tight end. Don't know how much he'll get in the game as a true freshman,
Especially
but
game one, right?
right. But I would, if he gets in there, it's going to be probably closer to the goal line as an extra blocker, just because he's just physically imposing as a tight end.
Yeah. Speaking of from Ohio, I think we stole one from underneath you guys. A surprise Carter Smith out of
Okay.
Powell, Ohio. He was a high
Pal,
3-star.
Pal is. I live in Delaware County. Pal is in Delaware County. I know who
Oh,
you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's going to be the starting left tackle as a
Good for him.
red shirt freshman. He was one of the three players that were stars out of camp.
Hmm.
He was not expected to star. You and I went over our entire or went over IU's starting offensive line. He's starting over a true senior.
Wow.
Um, so that was a monster surprise. So
Yeah.
Carter Smith, who we figured would be probably a 2 or 3 year starter, could potentially be a 3 to 4 year starter
Yeah,
for IU.
the old Intangi schools, which is where Pal, there's in
Yeah.
the city of Pal. There's four old Intangi schools here. Used to be one when I was in high school, and it just exploded. Now they have four high schools, and they produce on average every year out of those four high schools somewhere between 8 to 10 Division I football players.
Wow.
It is
Yeah.
becoming a powerhouse. In fact, um, linebacker on the national championship team for Ohio State, who just saw him on NBC's broadcast. Can't believe his name's slipping my mind here. Went from Big Ten Network over to NBC. It'll come to me. He's from Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from that area. And then I was watching the Ohio University San Diego State game, and there's a kid from Powell, Ohio on there. I'm like, man, it's just crazy. So I went
Everywhere.
back so I went back and started looking up how many Division One guys were coming out of these schools every year. It's somewhere between 8 to 10.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
it's
That's
a, it's
awesome.
it's a powerhouse. Zach Harrison, y'all
Yep.
remember him?
Of
Yeah,
course.
he's from Powell. Yep.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. Who name maybe if you can, if you want to, two or three guys on IU that you're concerned about
Oh
on Saturday.
gosh. Well, first off, your quarterback. If he's is
Yeah.
it Tavion or
Taven. Yeah.
Taven? If he is able to extend plays, I think that is your best bet
Yep.
offensively against this defense. If you guys try to run the football, I think you'll have zero success. But if you can extend plays and he can use his feet and get out of the pocket and hit some of those receivers on comeback routes and really if they roll him out and kind of split the field for him and
Yeah.
make things simple. Hey, one read, if it's not there, take off, get 5, 6 yards, set up third and shorts for your offense,
Yep.
things like that. That worries me because with the new rule change where
Yep.
you don't have to stop the clock on a first down. It shortened the game. I noticed that big time in the Notre Dame game. Navy had 3 possessions in the entire first half, and you would think it's because it's Navy, right? Because they're
Right.
gonna. It
Yeah.
wasn't. It was not because Notre Dame was getting like 3 and outs, and it didn't matter.
Right.
The game it's so reminiscent of a Sunday NFL game now. That worries me. So those third and shorts are huge
Yep.
in keeping a lesser talented team in the game.
Totally.
Um, that worries me. Help me out with the name, the little speedy wide receiver you guys
Jalen
got.
Lucas. Yeah.
That
Rondale
kid's
Moore.
that kid's
Rondale Moore.
highlight nightmares, Brandon, nightmares
Yeah.
of Rondale Moore. I see that and I'm like, please God, not another Purdue incident here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kid scares the living bejeebus out of me, man. Absolutely.
Yep. And
Um,
one more guy, and I don't know, and sorry if I'm taking, but and I know your secondary is better than it was last year, but
mhm.
nobody could stop Cam Camper last year. And he was on his way to an all Big Ten team. So that's what as you said, third down is going to be vitally important.
Oh yeah.
Um, for the reason that you said, and then just obviously, right? If Cam Camper can play the whole game, which he didn't last year, literally got hurt in the Ohio State game, tore his ACL. He, I think, is the player no one's talking about. One, because he's coming off an ACL injury, right? And two, because he was dominating. I think Ohio State threw maybe two or three different corners at Cam Camper and could not stop him. So I think there's a lot of factors, but he's the one that no one has talked about. I've not read it at all. And he's coming back fully healthy.
Mm.
Which, so for you guys, again, how improved is your cornerback room versus last year?
Much
Yeah.
improved. Yeah, so they went out and got David Igbinosun from Ole Miss. He's a very physical, big, strong corner.
Yeah.
Something we've not had here. We've been more of a finesse corner, speedy,
Yeah.
smaller guys. Hasn't done too well. Denzel Burke is back playing much better this year than he did last year in his sophomore campaign. He had great numbers as a freshman, was our best corner as a freshman.
Yeah.
And then last year as a sophomore had that dreaded sophomore slump. So seeing him return to form has been good. I got to go watch practice myself in person once, and he had a phenomenal practice. In
Awesome.
fact, in fact, he stood up Marvin Harrison Jr. a couple times. Literally, just
Wow.
yeah. So that is big time for us if we can get good corner play at the safety position. Here's a name for you guys: Sonny Styles.
Okay.
He is a 18-year-old sophomore because he left high school as a junior and came to Ohio State and was entered his freshman year at Ohio State when he should have been a senior in high school last year. So he took that whole year as really his development, played a little bit, and he just blew up this fall. He is the son of a legendary Ohio State linebacker, Lorenzo Styles, and then his older brother, Lorenzo Styles Sr., was wide receiver on Notre Dame and
Wow.
transferred to Ohio State in his backup corner. So Sonny Styles is a playmaker.
Yep.
He's someone you're going to need to know. He'll come down and he will blow up a run from the safety position, or he can make it happen in the backfield.
Yep. So you mentioned running. You've mentioned the running the ball a few times. I'm gonna tell you right now, running is going to be unconventional. I was saving this for my podcast. I didn't know if I wanted to use it for mine or yours.
Bring it on.
Here,
We'll take it.
here's my hot take. You will see 4 different guys take snaps
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday. You will see Jalen Lucas taking direct snaps. You will see Josh Henderson taking Wildcat. And just like you said, you'll play 2 quarterbacks. I think IU also plays 2 quarterbacks. Um, maybe as a decoy, maybe as not. I do think Taven takes the most snaps, but I do think Brendan Sorsby will come in for a few packages. So I think you see 4 different people take snaps. And I think you're just going to see us running all over the place. And it's not going to be north south. I hope not. If it's north or south, it's going to be a long day for
Yeah,
IU.
you're playing into our strength then. Yeah. If
So
you try to go into the teeth of our defense, you're not going to be
yeah,
going
I'm
far.
I'm thinking jet sweeps. I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
reverses. I'm thinking some speed option. That's what I'm excited about. Like if we were playing NCAA football and I was IU, I'd just be running speed option with Taven and Jalen Lucas all day. Get to the outside, make a slot corner or a safety, make a play on a ball. They make a play on the ball. Yeah, it's probably a loss or a turnover. If it's not a play on the ball, it could go for 6. So I'm hoping running is not conventional on Saturday. If it
Yeah.
is, you can't play conventional football when you're playing Ohio State and you're Indiana.
No, because then you're just trying to do athlete on athlete, and at that point, recruiting rankings matter.
They're there for a reason, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's an industry
exactly.
for a reason.
Exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely want to draw up some schematic things here in a game like this, and
Yep.
use that speed to your advantage. I mean, that's speed kills. I don't
Right.
care what level you're at in the game of football. If you're faster than the other guy in an open field, you're gonna win.
Right. So yeah, I mean,
So,
so you mentioned Taven extending plays, right?
hmm
All we've heard, at least IU fans, is there's no experience at quarterback. There's no experience at quarterback. Right, correct. The only highlights of Taven Jackson at Tennessee is him running the ball, getting out of the pocket, running for 10, 20. I think he even had a mid 20-yard run out of the pocket. Um, so, that's another thing that, if you mention getting out of the pocket, I'm hoping everything's a roll or everything's like nothing is just sit back and create a pocket. I think that's one, not where Taven excels. And 2, that's where I think, like you said, we kind of have to live boundary to boundary. We can't
yeah,
live within the hashes.
yeah.
So that's
Our
where I'm excited for
our
this.
defensive plan is literally to get you off schedule.
Yeah.
If we can get you to be third and longs,
Yep.
this game belongs to us. Because then we
Sure.
can then we can pin our ears back and we can put pressure on a very inexperienced passer.
Yep.
So yeah, the first down and second down calls that you guys make on offense, I think is going to be the difference between is this a 4 quarter game
Yep.
or was this just exciting for CBS to bring back Big Ten football for the first time in a couple decades? And about an hour into the game, they're already scanning the crowd and looking at.
I'm gonna guess this is gonna be exciting for 2 2/3 quarters. How about
There
that?
you go, almost three
How about
quarters.
that?
All
Almost
right.
3 quarters. That's
Uh,
that's that that's my guess. I think I think you'll be a little worried in that first hour. I think in a little bit. I think there will be maybe not standing up, but maybe drinking that first beer a little faster than you wanted to.
Oh, I remember when we came to Bloomington, we opened the season at Bloomington. I think it was on Thursday night, if I
It
recall
was a
correctly.
Thursday night, yeah.
Yeah, that was scary the first half, dude. That was a little. Ooh. I remember that well. But hey, let me ask you this question as we wrap this thing up. And again,
Sure.
Brandon, thank you so much for being with us.
Yep.
The 27 game win streak, is that
Yeah.
even talked about at all with Indiana and the
Not
fans
at
and
all.
team? Nothing
I
at all.
Maybe this is ignorance. Maybe this is just, I don't know. I mean, ignorance is bliss. I didn't even know it was 27 years until you sent me your outline. Like, I didn't have
Really?
a clue it was 27 years. It'll be talked about. Over under, it'll be talked about 3 times on Saturday
By the national media,
by the
more
national
likely?
media. Yeah. I think it's a good number. I think 2.5 is. I think they mention it 3 times.
Okay. Okay. Three times.
I th- I think the national media knows. And then
Yeah,
they'll,
it'll be at the beginning of the game, and then it'll be, well,
especially if
that
it's close at
if it's
halftime.
yeah, if it's close to all the 27 game streaks online, you're gonna see
Exactly.
that. They're gonna start to build that up, try to get more eyeballs to tune in from other channels and whatnot. So yeah, I could see it. I could see them definitely using it at that point. But interesting that it's not really talked about at all. I figured it would be like a let's end this thing, heck
Yeah.
no for 28, whatever motivation you could use. But that's very interesting. I just got done writing an article for Scarlet and Game about it, and what was really unique is, believe it or not, it is the longest current conference streak out there,
I
and
didn't
there's
know that. I
and there's
didn't know that.
only there's only one other conference streak that was longer than that, and
Yeah.
it was actually Nebraska over, can't remember who it was now, but it was Nebraska over somebody.
Yeah.
And that one's no longer, because
Happening.
Nebraska's
Yeah.
in the
It's
Big
it's
Ten. It was
over.
it
Right.
was back in like the Big 8 days. And then the longest streak in college football was actually Notre Dame over Navy at one time, and it was 38.
So we got time.
Oh,
I
you got
use
11 years to get it right, man.
11 years to get it right. So one more thing before we get out of here. Do you want to know what my prediction was for Ohio State?
I do. Can I guess?
You can.
I bet you're at 10-2.
11-1.
Okay, that's my
Ele-
prediction. Yeah.
11-1 with a 3-way tie in the Big Ten East.
That's what I did. Yeah, all
Did you
three of them.
really? Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
picked Penn State to beat Michigan,
Yep.
you guys to beat Penn State, and then
Yep.
I won't say what happens and you know where.
That's okay. That was my prediction too.
Yeah.
I also have Ohio State beating Wisconsin, and that being Wisconsin's only loss. So
Really?
I have 4 11-1 teams in the Big Ten. I think Wisconsin's going to surprise a lot of people.
See, that's how I know we're so smart. I also have an 11-1 team in the Big Ten West, but it's Iowa.
Iowa, I had
I
them
I, I,
at,
th- I think schematically, Wisconsin's going to take a year, maybe 2, to get Fickle's offense.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
just so
I
schematically, it's such a 180.
but here's why I think it can work for them. Mordecai is awesome. Get I'm telling you, the dude is going to be a baller.
I call him more to just a guy.
More
I
than
mean,
just a
he's
guy.
just he's just a guy. I mean, he is just a guy. I don't know. I'm
Well,
not buying the Mordecai hype, um,
that's
but yeah,
great.
no. So
If they end up losing a few games, I'm stealing that,
you
Brandon.
have to. You have to.
I'll give you credit one time.
So I had to Seth figured it out because our producer Seth is amazing. Ohio State end up winning my 5th tiebreaker to win the Big Ten East. I had to go all the way down to Seth did it for me. The 5th tiebreaker to figure out who won the Big Ten East. So I just felt like I had to share that with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
here was my prediction for the CFP. This is what's really crazy. I like to throw something out there and be like, I this is kind of crazy, but I would love to see it happen. I think all three make the CFP.
ooh, see, I have Penn State out.
See, I think how do you leave one of them out without picking up the other when you're justifying the other one? And at the same time, if you have conference champions who have 2 losses, which I think there will be several, then I think at that point you're like, you know what, we need to take the 11-1 Big Ten teams. And the reason why I would love to see it is I would just love to see the SEC cry about it, because
Yeah.
all we heard last year was 3 SEC teams. I would love for the Big Ten to be the first one to do it, and the last, obviously,
So
since we're
so
going
do
to
you have
12 teams.
Georgia as your fourth?
I do,
Yeah.
and and you know what? I'm not confident about that.
I'm very confident. Have you seen their schedule?
Well, it's trash, but if they lose, I don't know. I just feel like they could go they could go 12-0
Yeah.
to the SEC championship game and lose. And at that point, I don't know that they would put them over an 11-1 Big Ten team,
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
that strength of schedule is so bad. So I'm not confident. I saw where the College Game Day guys are all back on the Nick Saban train. They all picked Alabama. I'm not confident in Alabama's quarterback situation. Their schedule is a little bit tougher.
It is.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't see anybody coming out of the Big 12. I don't.
No. Nope.
I don't see anybody coming out of the Pac-12. In fact,
Nope.
I have Washington winning in the Pac-12.
So do I.
I have
See,
and I have
why are we geniuses? Like,
I don't
honestly,
know.
why are we the smartest people in the room? No,
Tell me this one. Who's your Heisman?
who's my high? I mean, it's Caleb Williams. I think
You think he goes back to back?
he goes back to. I mean,
Well,
did you
see,
see him on Saturday?
oh gosh, I can't pick him though. You know I can't pick him.
I
You
know
can't
you
have
can't.
someone. You can't have someone get Archie's record. Ty Archie.
No.
I'm going with Penix Jr.
Really?
I am.
So what do you think about a dark horse on Jordan Travis this year? Florida State's loaded in a bad ACC.
They are in a bad ACC.
They have to go to Clemson. They have to go
Let
to
me
Clemson.
let me
But
see him against LSU first.
yeah.
Let me see how that looks, because you know how this goes sometimes. The hype train, and then pop, and
Yep.
then, oh, that's who we are. It's
Yep.
like, it's not really. So the hype train on Florida State is up there.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you,
I have Ohio State crushing them in the college football
oh
playoff.
gosh, I would love that, because we owe Florida State one from back in like the 90s.
Yeah.
So, hey, Brandon, tell everybody where they can catch the LEO podcast. I know
Yeah.
that there's going to be some Hoosier people watching this. You
Totally.
really need to follow these guys. They are awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, you can follow us. We're anywhere you can find. We're LEO podcast. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. You can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, Android, everywhere you can find your podcast. So check us out. We'll have our preview dropping Thursday morning for Ohio State.
Cool.
So Ohio State fans, if you want our perspective, check out Thursday morning. Will be our preview for the game on Saturday. I'm excited. It's going to be hot. It's going to be really hot. I don't know if you checked the forecast.
It's going to be cool in my AC, man. That's all I can tell you.
So, I mean, just one last thing. I know I'm probably taking way too much airtime. I do think it'll be a storyline. I think the temperatures on the field are going to be in the low 90s. And for game one, where you're not in game shape yet,
Cramp Central, yep.
Exactly. So I think that is going to be a storyline nobody wants to hear, right? No one wants to hear injuries. No one wants to hear cramping, but it's supposed to be a high of 89 in Bloomington. And that means the on-field temperature is usually 5 to 10 degrees hotter than outside. So expect it to be hot, Buckeye fans.
Hot. Hey, are you guys going to fill up your stadium?
Oh, of course. Michael's going to kill me because I've been way too complimentary this podcast. He's absolutely going to kill me. When Ohio State comes, that's when we use all of our promotional aerial material. When it's all red,
yes,
right? And it looks like you can spin it as all Indiana fans. Every other year Ohio State comes is when we get our best marketing material. You guys are
Crimson?
a content haven.
Is that crimson or scarlet? It's red. It doesn't matter. It's
Photoshop, baby. Photoshop. Hugh, turn that Hugh. Yes, I know there are tickets available, but it'll be fine. It'll be fun.
Awesome, guys. Hey, I'll be tuning in. We'll be pushing a lot of Buckeye fans your way Thursday. So if you want to make them mad, that's all right. That's how we are. We play better when we're mad anyway.
Oh,
So
I mean, you know me, you know me. I'm a little bit more on the you know, realistic. But yeah, Michael is going to tick a lot of you off. So if you guys want to hate listen, listen to our show Thursday morning.
I, t-
Um,
I tell you what, you tell him if you guys pull off the miracle, okay? You
yeah,
know, do you believe in miracles?
there we go.
27, it's over. He can come on here and gloat. You
Oh,
have
there
him
we
call
go.
in Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Have him call in, and he can gloat all he
Deal.
wants. And I will sit here and I will take it. I will take it like a man if that happens.
I'm gonna text him immediately after this.
That sounds good,
Love it,
Brandon.
man. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, man, and enjoy the game Saturday.
Yep. See